know if you remember this was back in the 80s. So, you know, there was a film called The Wiz, The Wizard with Fred Savage. And it was about, this is when Super Nintendo was new. Okay, this is way back. This is when Super Nintendo was new. And the competition, and it was about this kid who was going with his brother to try to get to this national competition for Nintendo to play Super Mario Brothers 3 was the game, right? And, you know, now I know gaming is like a, you know, just billion-dollar industry. You got teams and all that. But, you know, I remember, you know, that time, and I think I'm telling my age a little bit, you know, by talking about this movie that came out in the 80s. But I remember that time, you know, seeing that, I was like, man, that'd be cool to be able to game professionally, because eventually at the end of the movie, he got there, and, you know, obviously it was him. And then he had like an antagonist who was like another kid who was really good at the game, but kind of like a bully. And he ended up beating him, and, you know, he won and got some money. But did you see yourself, like when you were gaming and you were playing, did you see yourself like going to competitions and really, you know, making that a career? Or was that just something that that was just a lot of time that you were like, hey man, I need to do something different?
The only game that the games that I loved competitive, like I think when things started shifting to online, I've always been pretty competitive. And so when things shifted to online, I really got into that. And I was less about story mode, less about like beating a game, and more about let's play, let's just go straight into online. Let's go compete.
Yeah.
So I've always been competitive. And one of the games, two of the games that I was very competitive with, believe it or not, fun fact is there was a game called NFL Street 2.
Okay.
And I was number one in the world at that for like
what?
For 2 months. For 2 months, I was number one in the world at that. But it was short-lived, you know, it was short-lived. But the reason I say I was number one is because I'll never forget, that was on Xbox. And I'll never forget, I went on to PS2's online waiting room or a lobby room or whatever. And I saw the number one dude on PlayStation in the lobby. And I was on my friend's account that had some like bad record. So he looked like a scrub on PS2. And so I actually invited number one into a game, and he accepted, and I beat him. And so when I beat him, one, he was probably upset because he lost to some guy with like a 5-11 record.
Right.
And,
like, how does this happen?
And two, you know, I claimed the crown at that point. I was like, I'm the best, you know, I'm the best ever. And nice. But I think that was the competing part is what was more important to me. And because I wasn't really good at sports, now I kind of look at that as the same way I'm running my agency, you know.
Right.
And one of my mentors told me this the other week, and it stuck with me, is it's not about being number one. For us, it wasn't about being number one. It was about how much variance there would be between number one and two. And that stuck with me. And that's something I'm like kind of preaching to my team right now, because we're approaching, we're in our market, there's like 3 different states right now. Yeah. And we're starting to become number one a little bit more often right now. And so I'm kind of feeding that into them as well. Like, hey guys, it's not about being number one. We're supposed to be number one. Let's kind of run up the score, if that makes sense. Let's dominate. And
let's dominate it. That's right.
Dominate.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like vanilla ice cream and chocolate. Have you seen that stat about ice cream and how far ahead like vanilla ice cream is over like chocolate and strawberry? Mm-mm. It's like the number 1, 2, and 3 ice creams, like vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry, right? But like vanilla is like 100 times higher than chocolate, for chocolate to be number 2. It's a cool stat I've read about not too long ago, and I'm like, you know, that's a great point. It's like, you know, you can be number one, but even at number one, you're still competing to like grow that distance, right? And really just be a master, you know, of your craft. And we put up quotes, you know, on our Instagram platform at YSGAL License. One of the quotes we put up today was, you know, it's the will, not the skill. It's the will, not the skill, because you got to have that fight. You got to have that why. And yeah, man, I mean, and your success is kind of a testament to it. So, all right. So coming out of school, you're playing sports, you got the gaming thing going, and what got you into the banking industry? So how'd that come about?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't playing sports. I was
You're just okay. Your friends were on a team. You like, okay.
Yeah. I went just to socialize, but I wasn't very good at sports, So, but what got me into banking was, so one of my best friends, he's the reason why I got into insurance, and I shout him out all the time. He is somebody that our first job was Subway, and so I get this job at Subway. I'm working with him, and our sisters are friends, so kind of family friends. And then he leaves Subway and gets a job at a bank. And I'm still at the Subway, and so he would come by the Subway, still get some sandwiches every once in a while, and I would serve him, and he would show me like the leaderboards. He's like, man, look at this, I'm number one, and he was, always like kind of would come and flaunt a little bit, and he would kind of brag about how much money he was making being in this commission-based job. Well, not really commission, but in banking, it's the opportunity to make commissions. And so I heard about group interviews, not group interviews. It was like same day interviews going on for that same bank once upon a time. And so I went, and then I got a job at the same bank as him. Right. And then 5 years later, I think maybe 6 years later, he leaves the bank, and he kind of fumbles around a little bit, and he gets, and he decides to open up an Allstate office. And so here I am about to get my business degree. And as soon as I got my business degree, it was, for me, that was the only thing really holding me back from being an employee. I knew I wanted to run a business. I just didn't know what. And so I quit banking. I fumbled around, went into business with some other guy, didn't really quite work out, lost the remainder of my savings, had my 401k left and it happened to be roughly like 25,000. And after cashing that out, after the taxes, the penalties, fees, and all that stuff, I had about 22,000 of it left, which I used to start my Allstate office, which fortunately at the time it only costed 25. It didn't cost, you just needed to show proof of funds of 25,000 back at that time. But that's kind of how the whole thing happened.
Yeah, kind of blossomed. So you guys, were friends, working together. You guys were at the Subway. He went to the bank. He comes in, he's showing you what he's doing. You're like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and really explore this too. Mm-hmm. He ends up leaving the bank. He goes into the insurance industry, and you're like, hey, maybe that's an avenue as well. And it just so happens that you end up having just enough to kind of launch that agency.
Yeah. And he actually kind of sold me on it. He sold me on it because he had asked me, it was his sister's birthday, and they wanted to celebrate it at Topgolf. And I remember I quit working with that other business, in between quitting the bank and opening my agency. And he asked me if I wanted to go to Topgolf. And in my mind, I was calculating Topgolf. I'm like, ooh, that's probably going to be a smooth like 60 or 80 bucks. I can't afford that. So I had to tell him, hey, bro, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just broke right now. Like, I can't go. Like, my future looks pretty uncertain. I don't know what I'm going to do right now. And so I can't make it. And he just said, don't worry about it. I got you. I was like, you sure, man? Because I don't feel right somebody paying for me. So I go and we're having a beer, and he's just like, you should open up an Allstate. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I've never managed people. Like, I've been around people. I've been in indirect influence of people. Like, when I was a small business banker, I had to have influence amongst like all the different branches, but I was never directly managing people. And I was like, so I don't have insurance experience. I don't have management experience, and I've never run a business. Like, are you sure I can do this? You know what I mean? And he's like, you can do this. Like, I know you can. And I don't know if he was just trying to get his little $10,000 referral bonus,
Right.
or if he really believed I had what it takes. But he was a phenomenal leader, and he, he helped me in those first 5 years. And now he's gone on to go do epic things. He's opening up a bunch of subways now. Things go
Nice.
full circle, right?
See that? I was gonna say, man, isn't that something? Right, full circle.
And that's probably where the buck stops. I'm not going to follow him in that venture.
Right.
I don't want to deal with food, man. So
Yeah, but what a story, though. What a story. And
yeah,
I think it speaks to a couple of different things. One, it speaks to, just kind of accomplishing whatever you decide to put your mind to, but it's also, that sky is really the limit, in this business, and in life, wherever you want to invest that energy. And it also speaks to the fact that, look, you're a product of the people who you hang around, and who you're spending time with. So that's one of the things that, I think is super important, is to be around people that can inspire you, be around people that can motivate you. And look, it's good to have those friends that push you, because there's always a soft competition, between friends. Say, hey man, okay, I see, steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron. We gotta keep pushing each other. So let's go back to when you decided to first open that agency. So he convinced you. He said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. What was it like that first month having the agency? Here I am.
Yeah, this is where I gave them, a lot of credit. This is where I give them by them, I'm referring to him and to my other buddy, that, because it was it was two people that came from banking, but the only difference is they actually had management experience. I didn't. And so Will had 2 years of experience as an agency owner, and Brian had about 1. And I'm telling you, I called them just about like maybe every day, if not every other day. And that's why I like that guidance, that mentorship, getting resourceful. I know some people's excuses are that, nobody wants to help me. Bull crap. Like you will find, if you go searching, there are people like you out there. There are people like me on YouTube. There are dozens of people. There is the right friendships and mentorships. And I think as long as you're not weird about it,
Right.
and you go in with the right mentality, i.e., if you just show love to some of these people before going in for an ask, I think that you can get the support of just about anybody. And so that's what I would attribute that very first month to. Was I remember being disappointed too. I remember I reached out to my entire phone book, everyone in my cell phone, everyone on my Facebook, everyone on my Instagram, and I asked everybody from every walk of life to get an insurance quote with me. And half the people ignored me, right?
Yeah.
Half the people just read my message. Another 25%, said, yeah, for sure you can quote me, and then just never got me all the information. And then about like 1/4 of everyone I reached out to gave me an opportunity to quote them. And then I got frustrated that nobody wanted to sign up like right then and there. And so my first month is like, man, we barely reached our minimum expectation. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what the heck? And I called my buddy and I'm like, dude, like, why won't these people sign up? Like, I'm getting them something better. And he's like, bro, not everyone's going to sign up on your watch. Like, you just need to be patient, man. Like, they're like, sometimes you can plant a seed right now and they might not actually sign up or get back to you for like a month or 2 months. And so I remember that first month being like that. And I started out with 2 employees, one of which I had to let go within the first 2 weeks. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, because I never
Crash course.
Yeah, I never handled terminations when I was in banking. I didn't handle firing people. And so this was hard. She was a little bit older. And I just knew right off the bat, I'm like, she's not a good fit. I just know that this just isn't going to work out. I brought her in because I had this requirement of having 2 staff. And so, yeah, that was the first month.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, those are some really intense lessons, just to kind of take on. One, I mean, look, you're leveraging your mentorship, and the resources that you have. I think it's a great point to say, look, if you want something, you have to go find it. Like, knowledge seeks no man, right? So if you want to learn something, if you want to get good at it, I remember one of my mentors told me, you can get mad or you can get better. It's going to be one of the two, but you're not going to be able to do both at the same time. So being able to really find and leverage resources, and then, tough conversations, that leadership development, man,